Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Jean-Michel Frédéric Macron, born 21st of December 1977, is the President of France and ex officio co-Prince of Andorra, having assumed these offices on May 14, 2017. A former civil servant and investment banker, he studied philosophy at Paris Nanterre University, completed a Master's of Public Affairs at Sciences Po, and graduated from the École Nationale d'Administration (ENA) in 2004. He worked as an Inspector of Finances in the Inspectorate General of Finances (IGF), then became an investment banker at Rothschild & Co Bank. Macron was appointed Deputy Secretary General in François Hollande's first government in 2012, having been a member of the Socialist Party from 2006 to 2009. He was appointed Minister of Economy, Industry and Digital Affairs in 2014 under the second Valls government, where he pushed through business-friendly reforms. He resigned in August 2016 to launch a bid in the 2017 presidential election. In November 2016, Macron declared that he would run in the election under the banner of En Marche, a centrist political movement he founded in April 2016, and won the election on May 7, 2017. Macron, at the age of 39, became the youngest president in the history of France. Upon his inauguration, Macron appointed Lavrier Edouard Philippe to be prime minister on May 15, 2017. Early life and education. Born in Amiens, Emmanuel Jean-Michel Frédéric Macron is the son of Françoise Nogues, a physician, and Jean-Michel Macron, professor of neurology at the University of Picardy. Raised in a non-religious family, he was baptized a Roman Catholic at his own request at age 12. He was educated mostly at the Jesuit Lycée La Providence in Amiens before his parents sent him to finish his last year of school at the elite Lycée Henri IV in Paris, where he completed the high school curriculum and the undergraduate program with the Bac S, mentioned très bien, the most selective track, best honors. At the same time he was nominated for the Concours General, most selective national-level high school competition, in French literature. His parents sent him off to Paris due to their alarm at the bond he had formed with Brigitte Azier, a married teacher with 3 children at Jesuites de la Providence, who later became his wife. He studied philosophy at the University of Paris Suisse Nanterre La Défense, obtaining a DEA degree, a master-level degree, with a thesis on Machiavelli and Hegel. Around 1999 he worked as an editorial assistant to Paul Ricoeur, the French Protestant philosopher who was then writing his last major work, La Mémoire, l'Histoire, Lovely. Macron worked mainly on the notes and bibliography. He obtained a master's degree in public affairs at the elite Sciences Po, majoring in public guidance and economy before training for a senior civil service career at the selective École Nationale d'Administration, ENA, graduating in 2004. He is an accomplished pianist, but information about his musical training is sparse and often conflicting. Professional career. Macron worked as an Inspector of Finances in the French Ministry of Economy between 2004 and 2008. In 2007, he served as Deputy Rapporteur for the Commission to Improve French Economic Growth headed by Jacques Attali. Macron paid 50,000 to buy himself out of his government contract in 2008 and left to work as an investment banker at a highly paid position at Rothschild & Co Bank. Political career. Macron was a member of the Socialist Party from 2006 to 2009. From 2012 to 2014, he served as Deputy Secretary General of the Élysée, a senior role in President Hollande's staff. He was appointed as the Minister of Economy and Finance in the second Valls cabinet on August 26, 2014, replacing Arnaud Montebourg. As Minister of the Economy, Macron was at the forefront of pushing through business-friendly reforms. On February 17, 2015, Prime Minister Manuel Valls pushed Macron's signature law package through a reluctant parliament using the special 49.3 procedure. In August 2015, Macron said that he was no longer a member of the Socialist Party and was now an independent. 2017 French presidential bid. Macron founded an independent political party, En Marche, in Amiens on April 6, 2016. A liberal, progressive political movement, the party and Macron were both reprimanded by President Hollande. On August 30, 2016, Macron resigned from the government ahead of the 2017 presidential election. On November 16, 2016, Macron formally declared his candidacy for the French presidency after months of speculation. In his announcement speech, Macron called for democratic revolution and promised to unblock France. Macron attracted criticism for the time taken to spell out a formal program during his campaign. Despite declaring in November he had still not released a complete set of proposals by February, attracting both attacks from critics and concern among allies and supporters. He eventually laid out his 150-page formal program on 2 March, publishing it online and discussing it at a marathon press conference that day. Macron accumulated a wide array of supporters, securing endorsements from François Bayrou of the Democratic Movement, MoDem, MEP Daniel Cohn-Bendit, the ecologist candidate François Derougy of the primary of the left, and socialist MP Richard Ferrand, Secretary-General of En Marche, as well as numerous others, many of them from the Socialist Party, but also a significant number of centrist and center-right politicians. The Grand Mosque of Paris urged French Muslims to vote en masse for Macron. Many foreign politicians have voiced support for Macron, including European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and former U.S. President Barack Obama. In March 2017, Macron's digital campaign manager, Mounir Majbi, told Britain's Sky News that Russia is behind high-level attacks on Macron, and said that its state media are the first source of false information. He said, "We are accusing RT, formerly known as Russia Today, and Sputnik News, of being the first source of false information shared about our candidate." On the evening of May 5, 2017, just before the French presidential election on 7 May, it was reported that 9 gigabytes of Macron's campaign emails had been anonymously posted to Pastebin, a document-sharing site. In a statement on the same evening, Macron's political movement, En Marche, said, "The En Marche movement has been the victim of a massive and coordinated hack this evening, which has given rise to the diffusion on social media of various internal information." President of France. Macron qualified for the runoff after the first round of the election on April 23, 2017. He won the second round of the presidential election on 7 May by a landslide according to preliminary results, making the candidate of the National Front, Marine Le Pen, concede. At 39, he's the youngest president in French history and the youngest French head of state since Napoleon. He is also the first president of France born after the establishment of the Fifth Republic in 1958. Macron formally became president on 14 May. He appointed Patrick Strzida as his chief of staff and Ismail Emilian as his special advisor for strategy, communication and speeches. On 15 May, he appointed Edouard Philippe of the Republicans as prime minister. On the same day, he met Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, as part of his first official foreign visit. The two leaders emphasized the importance of France-Germany relations to the European Union. They agreed to draw up a common roadmap for Europe, insisting that neither was against changes to the treaties of the European Union. Political positions. Macron has been described by some observers as a social liberal and by others as a social democrat. During his time in the French Socialist Party, he supported the party's centrist wing, whose political stance has been associated with third-way policies advanced by Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, and Gerard Schroeder, and whose leading spokesman has been former Prime Minister Manuel Valls. Overall, Macron is largely seen as a centrist. Economy. Macron has notably advocated in favor of the free market and reducing the public finances deficit. He first publicly used the term liberal to describe himself in a 2015 interview with Le Monde. He added that he is neither right nor left and that he advocates a collective solidarity. During a visit to the Puy du Fou in Vendée with Philippe de Villiers in August 2016, he stated, "Honesty compels me to say that I am not a socialist." He explained that he was part of the left government because he wanted to serve the public interest as any minister would. In his book Revolution, published in November 2016, Macron presents himself as both a leftist and a liberal, if by liberalism one means trust in man. With his party En Marche, Macron's stated aim is to transcend the left-right divide in a manner similar to François Bayrou or Jacques Chaban-Delmas, asserting that the real divide in our country is between progressives and conservatives. With the launch of his independent candidacy and his use of anti-establishment rhetoric, Macron has been labeled a populist by some observers, notably Manuel Valls, but Macron rejects this term. Macron is a supporter of the El Khomri law. He became the most vocal proponent of the economic overhaul of the country. He has supported the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, between Canada and the European Union and criticized the Walloon government for trying to block it. He believes that CETA should not require the endorsement of national parliaments because it undermines the EU. Regarding the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, TTIP, Macron stated in June 2016 that the conditions to sign the treaty are not met, adding that we mustn't close the door entirely and need a strong link with the US. In April 2017, Macron called for a rebalancing of Germany's trade surplus, saying that Germany benefits from the imbalances within the Eurozone and achieves very high trade surpluses. Foreign policy. Macron described France's colonization of Algeria as a crime against humanity. He also said, "It's truly barbarous and it's part of a past that we need to confront by apologizing to those against whom we committed these acts." Polls following his remarks reflected a decrease in his support. Macron was in 2012 a young leader with the French-American Foundation. In January 2017 he said France needed a more balanced policy towards Syria, including talks with Bashar Assad. In April 2017, following the chemical attack in Khan Sheikhoun, Macron proposed possible military intervention against Assad regime, preferably under United Nations auspices. He supports the continuation of President Hollande's policies on Israel, also opposes the BDS movement, and has refused to state a position on recognition of the State of Palestine. He criticized the Franco-Swiss construction firm Lafarge-Holcim for competing to build the wall on the Mexico-United States border promised by President Donald Trump. European Union. An article in the New York Times described Emmanuel Macron as ardently pro-Europe and stated that he has proudly embraced an unpopular European Union. Macron was described by some as Europhile and federalist, but he describes himself as neither pro-European, Eurosceptic nor a federalist in the classical sense, and his party as the only pro-European political force in France. In June 2015, Macron and his German counterpart Sigmar Gabriel published a platform advocating a continuation of European integration. They advocate the continuation of structural reforms, such as labor markets, institutional reforms, including the area of economic governance, but also a reconciliation of tax and social systems, like better coordination or harmonization of the corporate taxes via, for example, minimum wages. He also advocates the creation of a post of the EU Commissioner that would be responsible for the Eurozone and Eurozone's parliament and a common budget. In addition, Macron stated, "I'm in favor of strengthening anti-dumping measures which have to be faster and more powerful like those in the United States. We also need to establish a monitoring of foreign investments in strategic sectors at the EU level in order to protect a vital industry and to ensure our sovereignty and the European superiority." Macron has stated that, if elected, he will seek to renegotiate the Treaty of Lausanne with the United Kingdom, which has caused a build-up of asylum seekers in Calais. When Macron served as economy minister, he had suggested the treaty could be scrapped if the UK left the European Union. Greece. In July 2015, as economy minister, Emmanuel Macron insisted in an interview that any Greece bailout package must also ease their burden by including reductions in the country's overall debt. In July 2015, while challenging the loaded question of the 2015 Greek referendum, Macron called not to cause automatic ejection of Greece from the Eurozone and not doing the Versailles Treaty of Eurozone, in which case no side won. He believed that the Greek and European leaders co-produced the Greek government debt crisis, and that the agreement reached in summer 2015 between Greece and its creditors, notably driven by France's Holland, will not help Greece in dealing with the debt, while at the same time criticizing the International Monetary Fund. In June 2016, he criticized the austerity policies imposed on Greece, considering them to be unsustainable and calling for the joint establishment of fiscal and financial solidarity mechanisms and a mechanism for restructuring the debt of Eurozone member states. Yanis Varoufakis, Minister of Finance in the first cabinet of Alexis Tsipras, praised Macron, calling him the only French minister in the François Hollande's administration that seemed to understand what was at stake in the Eurozone and who, according to him, tried to play the intermediary between us, Greece, and the troika of our creditors EC, IMF, ECB, even if they don't allow him to play the role. Eastern Europe. Macron would push for EU sanctions against Poland. He said in April 2017, "In the 3 months after I'm elected, there will be a decision on Poland. You cannot have a European Union which argues over every single decimal place on the issue of budgets with each country, and which, when you have an EU member which acts like Poland or Hungary on issues linked to universities and learning, or refugees, or fundamental values, decides to do nothing." Polish Foreign Minister Witold Waszczykowski said in response that Macron violated European standards and the principles of friendship with Poland. Macron said in May 2017, "We all know who Le Pen's allies are. The regimes of Orban, Kaczynski, Putin. These aren't the regimes with an open and free democracy. Every day they break many democratic freedoms." Newly elected French President Macron said that the European Commission needs to do more to stop the influx of low-paid temporary workers from Central and Eastern Europe into France. Immigration. Unlike many French socialists, including former Prime Minister Manuel Valls, Macron supports the open-door policy toward refugees from the Middle East and Africa pursued by Angela Merkel in Germany and promotes tolerance towards immigrants and Muslims. Macron has expressed confidence in France's ability to absorb more immigrants and welcomes their arrival into Europe, asserting that the influx will have a positive economic impact. However, he believes that Frontex, the European Border and Coast Guard Agency, is not a sufficiently ambitious program and has called for more investment in coast and border guards, because anyone who enters Europe, at Lampedusa or elsewhere is a concern for all European countries. Regarding asylum policy, he believes the period of review should be considerably shortened and that all those whose claims fail must be deported immediately. Security and terrorism. Macron believes that the proposed reform bill on deprivation of citizenship for French-born and naturalized citizens convicted on terrorism charges was not a concrete solution and believes that the endless prolongation of the state of emergency raises legitimate questions. He advocates an increase in state funding of intelligence agencies. Macron calls for a restoration of community policing and considers that the management of some major risks must be delegated to the associations or the private sector. He considers that his proposal to provide each young adult a culture pass of 500 may encourage young people to discover the culture of France and deter terrorism. Macron has endorsed proposals to make it mandatory for Internet companies to allow the government to access encrypted communications from customers. Environment. Ahead of the 2015 United Nations Climate Change Conference, Macron called for acceleration of the ecological transition and advocated a balance between ecological imperatives and economic requirements. An objective that the French government seeks to achieve by fighting on 5 fronts: innovation, simplification, strengthening of our energy efficiency and reduction of fossil fuels usage, energy competitiveness and action in Europe and worldwide. During the summer of 2016, he defended the use of diesel fuel, for which he believes there shouldn't be a hunt since it remains at the heart of the French industrial policy. Macron expressed this opinion in the aftermath of the Volkswagen emissions scandal. He was then part of a Socialist Party-backed government. Prominent members from that party, including Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo, criticized the position. In addition, Macron is in favor of using nuclear energy, which he considers a French choice and a choice for the future. In 2016, Macron proposed that France secures its supplies in the most strategic materials using 3 levers: the circular economy and the recovery of materials contained in the end of life of the products, the diversification of supplies to overcome geopolitical risks, and to bring more competitiveness, the creation of new reasonable-sized mines in France, while following the best social and environmental standards. Although he is skeptical about the construction of the Airport du Grand Ouest, Macron believes that the construction should start since the people backed the project on the 2016 local referendum. Secularism. Macron supports the principle of secularism, laicite. He also said that we have a duty to let everybody practice their religion with dignity. In July 2016, at the first meeting of En Marche, Macron expressed opposition to the ban on Muslim headscarves in universities, stating, "Personally, I do not believe we should be inventing new texts, new laws, new standards, in order to hunt down veils at universities and go after people who wear religious symbols during field trips." In an interview with the French news magazine Marianne, Macron asserted that secularism is not designed to promote a republican religion, and responded to comments by Manuel Valls and Jean-Pierre Chevènement regarding the practice of Islam in French society by condemning the notion that citizens should be discreet in their religious practice, stating that historical precedents when we asked for discretion in matters of religion did not bring honor to the Republic. In the same interview, Macron said of French Muslims, "I ask one thing, absolutely respect the rules while in public. Religious relationships are about transcendence, and I am not asking people to be moderates. It's not what I'm arguing. My own deep conviction is that a practicing Catholic may believe that the laws of his religion go far beyond the laws of the Republic. I simply believe that when one enters the public realm, the laws of the Republic must prevail over religious law." He also condemned religious schools that teach hatred towards the Republic, with instruction mainly in Arabic or, in other instances, which teach the Torah more than basic fundamentals. This statement triggered an intense negative reaction from the Font Social Juif Unify. FSJU, an organization that runs Jewish religious schools in France. Regarding support for Macron from religious groups, Jean-Dominique Durand, an expert on the history of contemporary Christianity and a deputy mayor of Lyon, said to the Washington Post, "What we have now is silence from the bishops. Protestants, Muslims, Jews have all mobilized for Macron. Not the Catholics. Not in any clear way." Personal life. Macron is married to Brigitte Strognieux, 24 years his senior, who was his teacher in law Providence High School in Amiens. They first met and established a relationship when he was a 15-year-old student who joined the drama club. She advised she was 39 at the time but did not have sexual relations while he was still a minor. His parents initially attempted to separate the couple by sending him away to Paris to finish the final year of his schooling, as they felt his youth made this relationship inappropriate, but she obtained a divorce from her first husband during this period and reunited with Macron after he graduated, marrying him in 2007. Macron has 3 stepchildren, 2 of whom are older than he is: Sebastian, born 1975, Lawrence, born 1977, and Tifhane, born 1984. His best man was Henry Hermand, 1924-2016, a businessman who loaned $550,000 to Macron for the purchase of his first apartment in Paris when he was Inspector of Finances. Hermand also let Macron use some of his offices on the Avenue des Champs-Élysées in Paris for his Mouvement En Marche,